Okay, so we've all heard the big push for explainable AI, right? XAI. But here's the thing. The whole field is kind of a mess. It's full of contradictions. Today, we're going to dive deep, and I mean really deep, into the philosophical reasons why nobody can seem to agree on what an AI explanation even is.
You know, we demand so much from our AI. We built these incredibly powerful models, and then we ask them, hey, why'd you do that? And we expect, a straight answer, something we can trust. But what happens when you ask two different explanation methods the exact same question about the exact same decision, and they give you two totally different answers? What do you do then?
Okay, check this out. This is a perfect example. We've got an AI, it correctly spots a cat in a picture. Simple enough. So we asked explanation method A, hey, what did you look at? And boom, it highlights the cat's face and ears. Makes sense, right? But then we ask method B the same thing, and it highlights the cat's body and even some of the background. I mean, these are both considered legit XAI methods, but they are telling us completely different stories. So who's right? And here's the crazy part. The answer might be both of them. And that right there is the core problem we're talking about.
So to really get why these methods can't agree, we have to zoom out, way out. This isn't just about the algorithms or the lines of code. No, the real fight is happening on a much, much deeper level. It's actually a philosophical disagreement about what truth and knowledge even mean. Let's break this down with a couple of key ideas. First up, we have this idea called ontology. It sounds complicated, but it's really just the study of what's real, what actually exists. And when we apply that to XAI, the question becomes, what is an AI explanation really? Is it some single objective truth, like a mathematical formula, just sitting inside the model waiting for us to find it? Or is an explanation something that only comes into being when a person understands it? A story we tell ourselves to make sense of what the AI did. And that leads us right to the second big idea, epistemology. This is all about the study of knowledge. Basically, how do we know stuff? So let's say an explanation does exist. How do we get to it? Can we measure it perfectly with our tools, like a scientist with a beaker? Or is what we get always just a partial interpretation, something that's filtered through our own human biases and what we're trying to accomplish?
Let's make this super simple with an analogy. Think about a cake. What is the explanation for that cake? That's ontology. Is it the exact chemical formula of every single ingredient all mixed together? Or is it the experience you have when you taste it? And then, how do we know that explanation? That's epistemology. Can you only truly know the cake by running it through a lab spectrometer? Or does tasting it and saying, wow, that's delicious, count as real knowledge? See? Depending on how you answer those questions, you're going to have a very different idea of what that cake is all about.
Okay, now here's the big reveal. This is where it all clicks into place. The reason all these XAI methods give us conflicting answers is because their creators built them on 4 completely different philosophical worldviews. Every single method has these hidden, unspoken assumptions about ontology and epistemology baked right in. And those assumptions, they change everything.
This is what I find so fascinating. Just look at this. You can see how tiny little technical tweaks actually represent massive philosophical shifts. All of these methods start with gradients, right? But a seemingly small change, like weighting those gradients or normalizing them or summing them up, it completely changes the underlying philosophy of what an explanation is and how we can know it. I mean, wow, this isn't just picking a tool from a toolbox, it's choosing a whole worldview. Let's actually walk through these 4 worldviews one by one so you can see what I mean.
All right, first up, we have viewpoint number 1, the logical positivist.
Now, this is your classic, old-school science and engineering mindset. The logical positivist believes there is one single objective truth out there, and that we can get to it perfectly. For them, the explanation is literally the model's internal mechanics. The answer is just in the math. It's the gradients. You just calculate it. And you don't need to check it against what a human thinks, because the calculation is its own proof. It's real and it's certain. Next, let's look at worldview number 2, the contemporary realist.
Okay, this view is a little more pragmatic. The realist kind of agrees that, yeah, a true explanation probably exists out there somewhere, but they believe we can only ever see it from our own limited subjective point of view. So we can't grasp the whole truth, but maybe we can find a piece of it that's useful for a specific task. For example, does the explanation help us accurately draw a box around a car in an image? If it works for that practical goal, then hey, it's a good explanation.
All right, now things start to get really interesting. Welcome to worldview 3,
the interpretive paradigm. The interpretive worldview basically flips the whole table over. It says that explanations don't exist in the AI model. At all. Nope, they only exist inside the human mind. An explanation is simply whatever makes sense to a person looking at it. So the goal isn't to uncover some deep objective truth. The goal is to create a story that feels right, that aligns with our human intuition. And the final test? It's just asking, hey, does this look right to you?
And finally, we arrive at the most radical view of them all. Worldview number 4, the postmodern paradigm. So the postmodernist just throws out the entire idea of a single true explanation. For them, you can't find truth in a single thing. You can only find it in the relationship between things. You can't just explain why the AI said cat. That's meaningless. Instead, you have to explain it through comparison. Why did it say cat for this image instead of a totally blank one, or instead of a picture of a dog? It's all about the contrast, the difference. An explanation is only good if it helps you do something else, like, say, find a bug in the model.
Okay, I know what you might be thinking. This is a really cool philosophical puzzle. But so what? Why does any of this actually matter in the real world? Well, it matters a ton, because picking an explanation method isn't just some technical choice. It's a choice that can have incredibly high stakes.
Just think about this for a second, especially in a field like medicine. A researcher trying to find the objective, scientific cause of a disease is working from a contemporary realist paradigm. They believe a real answer exists. But what if they unknowingly use an XAI tool that's built on an interpretive philosophy, where an explanation is really just about what looks good to a human? You see the problem? There's a fundamental and honestly a dangerous mismatch. They're asking a scientific question, but their tool is designed to tell a good story. It's literally incapable of giving them the kind of answer they need. It's like trying to measure your weight with a thermometer. Sure, the thermometer will give you a number, but that number is completely meaningless for what you're trying to do. In fact, it's worse than meaningless. It's dangerously misleading, and it's the same thing here. An interpretive tool might give a doctor an explanation that looks plausible, that makes sense on the surface, but it might have zero connection to the objective, scientific reality they need to make a literal life or death decision. So, what's the big takeaway here? What do we do with all this? It means we have to be philosophers before we can be good engineers or data scientists. Step 1, you have to clearly define your goal. What kind of explanation do you actually need? Are you searching for a scientific truth, a story that's easy for a non-expert to understand, a way to compare two different outcomes? Step 2, figure out the paradigm. Which of those 4 worldviews does your goal fit into? And then finally, step 3, you have to match the tool to the job. Choose an XAI method that is built on the same philosophical assumptions as your goal. Because ultimately what this all boils down to is a really profound shift in how we think about this stuff. The explanation you get from an AI, it doesn't really depend on the AI. It depends on the hidden philosophical question you're asking it. And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. Every time we say we want trustworthy AI, what we're really saying is we want an explanation we can trust. But now we know there isn't just one kind of explanation. So the next time you ask for one, what kind of truth are you really asking for?